a disorder where patients have sidetracked. There is increased sensitivity of the colon. Either it moves really fast or it moves very slow. Disorders of brain-gut interactions can happen to anyone. Irritable bowel syndrome can be incredibly debilitating. Pain.
Many people undergo several tests and have a delayed symptoms associated with IBS.
Nausea, inability to eat, large, just uncontrolled. She would vomit. With a pain.
Days at a time, like 3-4 days, up and down stairs. It really kind of like slaved me to my room, my bed, the couch, because if you get out of the fetal position, things are going to start to hurt. And everyone's over like the trajectory of your entire life, no matter what age you are.
Throughout her ordeal, Land and Olivia's family have been right by her side.
I would describe my sister as somebody who is resilient, graceful, kind. Beforehand, we would do so many active things together. It was just really disheartening to be so close to her, and I really couldn't do anything. We didn't understand what was going on, and we were looking for answers. And after understanding what problems we were looking at, we were trying to do everything we could in our power to get her the help that she needed.
So from the time that I began having symptoms to my diagnosis was about an 8-month time window. They decided to run a bunch of invasive tests and procedures to try to figure out what was going on. Once they finally did, they decided to put me on so many medications at once.
You invested this money
different
in these things
and exercising every
you gave to me for an investment.
I just kind of lost hope with that. Like, how is every single medicine not working? Why is no procedure helping?
When we come back, how Land and Olivia found relief from the pain. Stay with us.
I've used my voice as some of your favorite characters, and today my wife and I are using our voice for a cause that means so much to us.
A few years ago, when we connected with Be Strong, our hearts broke when we found out how much kids are suffering.
Ever since then, we've done everything we can to help Be Strong's mission.
But we can't do it on our own.
So today, we're asking you to make a donation in honor of a child you love,
so that Be Strong can help more kids in your community.
I cannot believe everything at Fabletics is 80% off right now. With Fabletics, you know you're getting all the latest styles and colors. So fill your closet today with 80% off your entire first order when you sign up to be a new VSE only at Fabletics.com.
I finally found the perfect bra, and guess what? There's no underwire. It is crazy that you can get this much support from a bra that has absolutely zero underwire. It's totally invisible, even under the tightest tops.
I finally found an underwire-free bra that's actually comfortable. No back fat, no spillage, and doesn't cut into me.
It doesn't stretch, doesn't sag. The quality is phenomenal.
Honeylove has a 30-day money-back guarantee.
Try the Passover bra today at honeylove.com.
When we made the switch to coterie diapers, our baby started sleeping better through the night and we had way less diaper changes. The material is incredibly soft, thin, and luxurious. It feels like clothing. If you want the best of the best for your baby, try coterie. You won't regret it.
Boring.
Certainly are you?
Yeah.
Are you for imprint first?
Certainty matters. Experience certainty with 4imprint. High quality promotional products, expert service, and on-time delivery. Visit 4imprint.com.
4imprint, for certain.
Grant and I used to work on this together, and when I'm gone, I want you to have.
Doesn't count. What you need is a will, something you can sign and make official. Start your will at trustandwill.com and make it count.
In just 1 year, I had over $900 of banking fees, and I had enough. I realized just how much money I could save. That's when I found Chime, and I signed up immediately. There's no overdraft fees, no monthly fees, and over 60,000 fee-free ATMs. Just by banking with Chime, I'm saving hundreds of dollars a year, and I'm using that extra money for my daughter's future. For a normal guy like me, I've given myself a small raise. Join me at Chime.com.
If your employer doesn't supply healthcare coverage and you don't qualify for Medicare or Medicaid, you need to give us a call right now. Private healthcare is private health insurance for ages 65 and under with no deductible. To get the coverage you need, call the number on the screen now.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next? Call Invent Help. They've been helping inventors for 35 years. Call today for free information. Call 800-867-0280. Attention homeowners. Are you behind on your mortgage payments? Is the bank threatening to take your home? Is your home worth less than you owe? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then you need to call this number right now. Call 800-853-1597.
So it's only picking up one camera.
I found every bottle. Text rank to 36.
And that I truly love, people don't feel like I'm going to be a good mother because of what my mom put me through. All I can say is let me prove you wrong.
And anything really important to say to this Hello, back to God, Family, Politics with your host, Dr. Tyra Hodge. Today I'm in the studio with Todd Coconato in the house. Todd does like so much, and he's like so cool because one, he knows Trump, and he works with Mario Murillo some, and he just does all these amazing things. Todd, tell me what's going on in your life. I want to hear everything.
Well, we've been in a battle for over 10 years for our country, and it's really come to like an apex right now. So while we're rejoicing in what the Lord has just done and really responding to the prayers of Christians that prayed and fasted, I feel like we're really just in the beginning stages of still fighting a much bigger war. So we won a big battle in the election, but we're in a much bigger war culturally and spiritually. It's all a spiritual war. And so we're in the trenches. The Lord has opened doors for me to speak to as an advisor to the Trump administration, and we've met with governors and senators and congressmen all over the country and advocated for religious liberty, freedom, and there's been a lot of persecution on Christians at their jobs, and with the DEI and just a lot of the stuff that the last administration was pushing, kids. Curriculums, unbelievable stuff that we never thought would happen in America.
Never.
It's crazy.
America's been transitioning, and we know America's not perfect, so we're not going to say that at all. But when it comes to freedoms, America had it, and so we saw that fix in the 1960s. With peaceful protests, and black people got rights, people of color. So, like I said, America's not been perfect. There's been some transition, but the one thing is that we were allowed to fight for our freedoms and to have our freedoms. And so we saw this really nice period, not that anybody's been perfect. We saw this nice period. And in 2016, the people voted in Donald Trump because they want change.
Right.
And so the left, for some reason, they're blind. They're blind to what the American people want, and they just want their power, and they want to push all these agendas that are so far crazy to people that don't even serve Christ. Are like, wait a minute, these people are a little bit crazy, but yet they still go with it.
Yeah.
And this is what happened in the church. So we voted Donald Trump in 2016.
Right.
And we thought it's all going to be peaches
and fight our battle. Yeah.
We're going to worship. And so, but what we saw was something that never happened in our country. We saw the rights of conservatives silenced. I mean, right now on my Facebook page, I have 52,000 followers. And get this. Even though people follow me, it'll never show up on my Facebook page.
They don't see you.
All my people don't see me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we saw principals get fired. We saw people lose their jobs, silenced, snatched off of YouTube. All these things that should never happen in America because one man decided to tell the truth.
Right.
And the funny thing is that we get so angry with him now. I ain't gonna lie. I want to tell him when you see him, I do want to snatch his phone from him and stop him from tweeting sometimes. But we saw somebody say what everybody else was thinking.
Yes.
When you talk about DEI, that goes against the consciences of everything. Come on now. How in the world is a boy that's pretending like, or feeling like a girl
Right.
should be boxing a
And
female and prioritize giving scholarships? Come on, where's the women's rights?
Exactly.
Where are the feminists on this? Because that's crazy when our scholarships are snatched away and given to a boy.
Yes.
If that's the case, make a transgender game, give them scholarships or whatever, you know. But anyway, the moral of the story is that we watched our rights being stripped away.
That's right.
Every force in media was against this man.
Yes.
Every devil in hell. And you said that, yes, it was a prayer, and this is supposed to be your interview.
That's okay.
It's completely stolen. I stole his interview. I am so sorry.
You're speaking truth.
But the thing is, when CBS says that the witches are concerned that their prayers are failing, y'all, this was on the news. You can't make what's been going on. The conspiracy theories are true.
Yeah.
When their prayers
so many are coming true.
Working.
You new ones, right?
So it makes you want to say, And so, okay, so I stole your interview, but let's stop, please. Tell me everything. Finish. When you start talking politics, I get crazy. So that's why it's God first, family, and then politics.
Yes,
because it's
all
three of my favorite things.
Every one of them, and they're all connected. And that's what I think, you know, as a pastor, that I try to explain is that we're in a spiritual battle. And to your point, I mean, the whole Trump derangement syndrome, it's like, why does somebody get so triggered by this man? And I think really what it comes down to is the spiritual aspect of it. You know, where somebody is walking in delusion, to your point, where a boy says he can be a girl, and then all of a sudden the military is supposed to pay for some transition surgery. Meanwhile, China is preparing their young men, you know, super ready and equipped for battle, and Russia's, you know, 12-year-olds are learning how to put together Kalashnikovs, and here we're transitioning. It's insane. It literally is insane. And this would have been called insane only 20 years ago. I think about my grandfather, what he would have thought about some
Your
of
kids
this
would have
stuff.
been snatched away from you. We're trying to destroy their bodies.
Yes, and we don't even know the effects of all these different things 10, 20 years from now. Think about the psychological impact and some of these people that made decisions as young kids, being basically told by their administrators, yes, you should do this. You know, 10, 20 years from now, the mental impact and psychological and spiritual, and, you know, we've already seen where people want to detransition, and, you know, but it's, as a doctor, you know this, I mean, it's insane to think about what is going to happen 10, 20 years from now from a ministry standpoint. So pastors need to be ready. We need to,
Because once you cut that pee-pee off, there's no going back.
So insane.
It's got to be on my teen channel. I'm sorry, y'all. Sorry, parents. So we talked a little bit about Trump. Talk about Mario.
Yeah, so the good news is we see this as a real opportunity because there's never been a hunger like there is right now. And so we're going around the country. We're about to go to Charlotte and have a crusade there in March. And right where, you know, where Billy Graham is, you know, out of and everything in the area is ripe for revival. So that's, we're already getting great feedback. I'm going to speak in the morning. He's going to speak at night, but it's going to be really powerful. So you go to mariomiller.org. And you know, we'll be there, and then we're doing different events and crusades all around the country. Just there's a real hunger for truth, and I think that's
people
what
want to hear the truth. And this is the thing: people, parishioners, actually want to hear the truth from their pastors, and their pastors are afraid to say stuff. They'll say a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
They'll say, you know, I mean, pastors are afraid to talk about the Holy Spirit, you know, and so
it's got to change. It's got to change. Tell me about. So I think God is separating the wheat from the tares, and I think that this has been going on even before COVID. But COVID really showed there were some people that were shut down for over a year, you know, and I think people really looked at the leadership and said, "What's going on here? You know, why is my church shut down?" When the Bible says, "Don't forsake the assembling of the brethren, lay hands on the sick and they'll recover." So there's been a shaking that's been going on in the body of Christ. I think it's continuing. But I think to your point, the folks want to see what I call lions and generals, but it's pastors that have chutzpah, that are willing to be bold and speak the truth, and so we have a church in Nashville, Tennessee, and we've seen exponential growth. Revival really is what's happening, and people are responding to, why don't you talk about this in the pulpit? Why aren't we addressing the major societal challenges? Why is it silent when something so major is happening? Roe v. Wade overturned, somebody doesn't even say anything about it on Sunday. Hello, how is that? Donald Trump shot in the ear, somebody doesn't even mention it the next week. I mean,
He comes up with the Black Power sign, y'all. He comes up with it's. I'm just kidding. Sorry. But anyway, and so yes, and so all this is going on. But the thing about it, the media, and it's really the media, the people that control the media that has the Trump derangement syndrome.
90% owned by 6 corporations.
And they've caused this syndrome because of pumping ugly, and nothing positive. I mean, they won't talk about the millions of dollars that he gave to black universities. They won't talk about how great our economy was and is going to be. They won't talk about the fact that the man never ever took a salary from being president. I wish he would donate some to public parenting connections, because it's just me and my husband donating. Come on, Trump, give me some of that $400,000 or whatever it is for being president. I'm just kidding.
But he's such a benevolent guy. When he hears about things like this, he does give tremendously. And I've seen it, and he doesn't ask for any type of accolades. Man, he really has a heart to help people. And he's empowered a lot of, like you said, in the African American community. And that's what we saw this last election. Such a stark change.
Men.
Yes, because
they really stood up and finally said, I think it's probably more about they should get to claim the kids if they're paying child support, but maybe it's more than that. So I saw some people shouting on a TikTok about it. It's like, but to each his own. It's still the best one. So the best choice anyway. And best choice. And I God is doing something. And I've heard Mario say a lot that Trump is that of a Jehu type spirit. And I do believe that Trump came in not knowing who the God of our faith really was. And I do believe he will be shouting the name of Jesus by the end of this term. And so his hand and the fact that he's surrounded by ministers. Can you tell me about your job in that? How with that?
I mean, this has just been an open door, and I'm sure you've seen the pictures where people are laying hands on President Trump. We have just a really unique, I've never seen in my lifetime any president that's been so open to faith leaders coming, and he wants to hear what we have to say. I've had 4 meetings with him and other ones that are bigger, larger meetings. But worked with his son on the Reawake America tour, went around the country to over 20 cities, and just really got to see firsthand the family and how they care about this country and are trying to make a difference in the West. But I think that they've seen that Christians have had their back. And I know, with his sons at least, they really were impacted by that. I was with Eric when his dad's house, Mar-a-Lago, was raided. We were in a room together, and I saw firsthand, the first response and reaction that he had when his dad's house was raided. It's just to see what they've been put through as a family, where the media's come after them. There's been lawfare that they've dealt with.
And this is the interesting thing. So, me just being a peon, in East Texas. So, if just one little branch of the armed forces or whatever would have came after me, I probably would have crumbled in terror and everything. I like to think I would have never forsaken Jesus, but I would have crumbled, lost everything. But nobody else, I believe, on this planet right now would have been able to give the fight back to them but Donald Trump. And so people want to know why Donald Trump. He does harsh things. He says mean things. He says, you know, this. And he does, you know, a little unorthodox because he's not a politician. He's a man. He's a man. You came for him. You came for his family. You came for his friends. And nobody else would have had billions of dollars to fight back. We would have had a crumble. Not only did he fight back, he went and ran again.
That's right.
And so, and his love for the country is evident because I would have been like,
yeah, forget this. Let me go live my billionaire lifestyle.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And this is our country who came after us, and that has to be heard. And so what is the next? What is you have a show and stuff on YouTube. It is pretty popular. Talk about your show.
It's called Firepower. I do a show with Mario Murillo every week, Wednesday night, and folks have this conversation. I think a lot of people see just one aspect, or like you mentioned, maybe a mean tweet or something. I think, why is this guy doing that? But there's a lot more going on, and so we try to have these types of conversations.
And they only let you see one side,
yes.
And they're good at cutting off the film. And
exactly.
I think it was 60 minutes. They only want you to hear this one, but it's out of context. It's like somebody's quoting a scripture, but you're not reading what came before or what came after, but all you hear is this one clip. They're notorious for that.
It's
and so
one-sided, 85% negative coverage for President Trump in the media.
It still won.
I mean, it's like
it still won.
It's insane.
Still is. Still is. And now Elon has been thrown up in the negative too. And they're displaying his tweets and God help them.
It's a battle.
So this is okay. So did we talk about in 2016 when Trump won, the Christians went back to sleep?
That's the problem.
They went back to sleep.
Business as usual.
So this time, y'all, the battle is on. The warfare just started. You know, it just started. During the last election, we did not get an ounce of rest. We didn't because we had the scam of the Russia game, the scam of this, and let's go after all his friends. And his friends turned his back on Trump. They're a lot of people that were supposed to be his friends, lawyers, buddies, they all turned because they were shamed. Their families were stripped from them. Their jobs were stripped from them. Would you be able to stand? If you're not ready to give up everything, everything that I have, if I'm not ready to give it up, then I'm not worthy to be called his son or daughter. And so, as a matter of fact, I don't have anything that God didn't give to me. And so, I pray that I would be ready to give it up and walk away. There's times I've had to do that in the past to make sure that I was right with the Lord. And so, but Christians, people, lovers of this country, if you're not ready to give up everything to fight,
this is just a precursor. I mean, there's going to be obviously a period of time, hopefully we're raptured out of here by then, but where things could get a lot worse than they are right now. And so if we're not willing to take a stand now, what's going to happen? And so I think the Lord is preparing his church. He comes back for a church without spot or wrinkle. Not the complacent church, not the asleep church, not the lethargic and leavened church, but like the Philadelphia church, the empowered church. And so I think that this is a real season for us to get closer with the Lord in his word. We prayed up, put on the armor, and then get out there and take a stand.
Hey Todd, I'm going to go ahead and put you on the spot because we're on TV right now. Do you think you could come check in on God Family Politics every now and then and give us some updates and tell us what's really going on since you have the inside scoop maybe, every now and then.
I love what you're doing.
I love what you're doing. You're like a soon-to-be star. You're already star. And so,
it's not the motive at all.
And so give us your impact statement. Leave the people with something.
The good news is that God is on our side. We're not victims, we're victorious. And So we have the wind at our backs, the Holy Spirit. And so, we just got to keep, we're not meant to just survive, we're meant to thrive. And like Esther, God has brought us in the world for such a time as this. And so it's no mistake that we're here right now. And I think we as the body of Christ need to come together. And that's what God is doing, is connecting people of like mind. And I love it. I love meeting folks like you, because then I know here's another one fighting. And we lock arms and we lock shields and we do this. So that's what we're going to do. Take back the country.
We're going to take back our country, but we're going to make it better with our freedoms intact. In Jesus' name. Thank you. Please subscribe, follow Todd, follow us, share. Sharing is caring. And we'll see you next time on God Family Politics.
It's cool.
And you feel free to talk to the camera. Most of the time you're going to talk to this camera.
Okay.
And so, but this one finally, this one finally looking a little good, but that's kind of a weird angle. Working on angles today. Okay, we can sit back. It makes me look really fat when I'm not sitting close. So y'all get to see the behind the scenes everything. So we're getting ready to start. I'm going to count to 10. 1. Hello, welcome to God Family Politics. I'm your host, Dr. Tyra Hodge. Today we are in with a new author,
J. Fanning.
Miss Fanning, and she's going to tell us about a new project she's working on. I'm so excited. Look at this. The girl and her noble steed.
Yes.
Tell me what you're doing.
So this is
and welcome to the show. I'm sorry.
Thank
welcome
you.
To the show.
Thank you for having me. This is a dream project that the Lord laid on my heart, and it's about an orphan girl who lives in this quirky village, and it's set against the backdrop of an epic race. And she's trying to save her orphanage from closure, and how through prayer and faith she comes in touch with a grumpy old farmer and a musical donkey, and how this trio of underdogs come together to right the wrongs and take on a race of a lifetime.
So tell me how, so this is obviously a ministry to kids.
Yes.
Tell me how that started.
Oh, the ministry started, actually it just started with me writing the books first. So my first book, published in April, just before Easter, is called Alive in Easter Story. And that was the first one the Lord laid on my heart, and I published in March, April 2023. Published on Easter Day. And then I didn't know. I was just doing the books, but whoever I met, like parents I met, people I met would say, this is a ministry, and I never got it then. Because for me, I'm like, okay, the Lord called me to write Christian books for children. And the books that when I wrote them, it's different because I was truly guided by the Holy Spirit how to write, what to write, the words to put in there. And I never thought of it as a ministry until last year. And he's been telling me to start a YouTube channel, and it was only then that I realized that he is really into children's ministry. Till then, it never struck me.
And so it may not look the same as because media is definitely, it can be a form of ministry or corruptness.
Yes.
And so you were able to publish so many books so quickly, and so I guess God just downloaded you.
Yes. I would pray before every book, and that's something the Lord's been leading me to wait at His feet and to pray and ask for what's next, and then I would get the ideas of what to write and what to write.
Talk a little bit more about your YouTube channel.
My YouTube channel is called Read, Believe, Grow TV, and it's a wholesome Christian channel that caters to families. It teaches about raising bold and confident kids in Christ. It also has a lot of inspirational videos, animations, Bible stories, so it's just a little bit of everything. But one of the main parts of the channel is to encourage children to grow in the Lord, to pray. Not just as, oh, this is such a thing, I gotta do this prayer, but in a way of having a conversation with God. You know, like, he's your buddy, he's your friend, he's there with you. Don't talk to imaginary friends, talk to Jesus. You know, I'm gonna train children to seek prayer more and to use the Word of God more. So that's what the main channel is about.
Wow. So tell me, have you always been a Christian?
No, I was raised in a Hindu family in a media home. My mom's a television producer, and
wow,
my whole life, yes, it's my family on my mom's side is all in the television industry, born and raised in the industry. She was a childhood actress who won the national award, and I have family in Bollywood, and so this is all I knew. And I was raised a Hindu, but the Lord found me like the lost sheep.
How did He find you? How did He find you?
This story is how I became a Christian, and I talk about it often. Was through my godmom, actually, and my godmom's, my cousin's sister, my godmom's daughter, was the first one the Lord saved in the family. And at this time, all of us are Hindus, but she's the only one who knew Jesus. And through her, my godmom, my mom's elder sister, was saved. But my cousin, at the age of 16, went to Dubai to spend time with the family, with one of my other aunts, and while she was there, became very sick and went into a coma. And my aunt was praying all this while for her to be raised up. But when she went to meet her at her hospital bed, while she was praying to be raised up, God had not spoken to her all this while. And then in that still, quiet, silent moment, she heard His clear words, "Say thy will." And she said it took everything from her in that moment to be obedient to His will. And when she said, "Thy will be done," my cousin left her last words and went to the Lord. But the beauty about the story of the ashes is that in that moment, she did not harden her heart. She leaned into Jesus, and He comforted her. He gave her, He talked to her about the plans the enemy had and what my cousin's purpose was to lead this family. And He promised her that He would give her 3 more daughters. He would give her daughters. Now, little did she know she would gain 3 daughters through me and my 2 sisters. And since the age of 9, she's been our spiritual mother. She helped raise us because my mom's she's a single mom. She's always worked, so we needed that spiritual mom. We needed her, and she needed us. And the Lord put us together, and I always say I have 2 moms. My mom and my spiritual mom. And that's been her journey, and that's how I got to
That's an amazing story. So tell us where we can get the book and everything.
So the book, you can get the book on my website. You can also get KeithnajFanning.com. You can also get the book on Amazon and Barnes & Nobles. It's also available on Ingram Spark for wholesale. And also I have the links on my YouTube. I have it on my website. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram. I'm very approachable and easy to talk to, and I always reply to parents because the vision that the Lord's laid in my heart is I don't want to just be an author or a speaker who just speaks and goes about my business. I want to have relationships. I want to get to know the family. I want to get to know what they're going through. I want to see. I want to talk to them about how God's doing a wonder in their lives, and that way. So,
Miss Fanning, thank you so much for being on the show. And so, get the book, y'all, and check out the YouTube page. The more you check it out and stream, she can one day possibly earn revenue to put back into her ministry. So do that. Like and share this show. Thank you so much for watching God Family Politics. We'll be back later, and God bless you and take care.
And thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Right now, we're working with let's say, this camera.
I love it. You see, I'm trying to cover up my I'm trying to cover up my tummy here.
Hello, welcome back to the God Family Politics Show. I'm your host, Dr. Tyra Hodge. Today I have a couple. I have Mark and I have Veronica. They were a force to be reckoned with in media, but then something happened. Mark and Veronica, thank you so much for being on the show and making time to be with me today. Tell me the story, and please say your names correctly for us.
So my name is Veronica DePipo.
And I'm Mark Aramian.
And we are married, but I kept my name.
Powerful woman.
Thank you. So the story begins back in Hollywood. I worked in Hollywood for 22 years, and I worked my way up from, I had been many years in New York theater, so I had written and directed New York theater and had many plays produced. Moved to Hollywood, got into production, started working in production offices, was a story analyst and reader. I read for production companies, and started working on films in a variety of capacities, independent films. Anything from script supervisor to any number of crew positions, you name it. And at that point I ended up, because of my writing background, I got an agent, a manager. I started working as a screenwriter and also directing and writing independent films and continuing to write and direct for theater in Los Angeles. So what happened was, my political perspective started to change. My faith journey sort of brought me back into a relationship with Christ. And when that happens, my perspective shifted. And I realized that I was more conservative than anything else, that my values were conservative. And my husband and I had already met and married, and we joined a group called Friends of Aid, and Mark will talk about that.
Friends of Aid was a secret organization of conservatives. John Voight, Gary Sinise, Andrew Breitbart, they were the founders of it, a couple other guys. And we used to meet secretly, like once a month. And it was finally you could talk to somebody about issues that were important without getting canceled. And everybody was very much afraid that we would be infiltrated by someone on the progressive left and expose who we were so that we would all be kicked off the shows and so on.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Oh yeah, you didn't know about this.
This is the way it really is in Hollywood. And at one point, Andrew Breitbart, Breitbart.com, he sold Breitbart.com, he is deceased, but he invited me to write for his online publication. And I wrote some articles. And the first one that I wrote was actually a humor piece. It was called How Hollywood Taught Me Not to Behave. And so it was supposed to be funny, and it was a humorous article, but Hollywood didn't find it humorous, and the subsequent articles that I wrote, and as a result, I started to notice that my meetings started to get postponed and not rescheduled, and suddenly my scripts were not getting read, and I wasn't getting the invitations that I used to get before, and people were not returning my calls. And then my management team quietly dropped me in 2009, and at the time Mark and I were touring with an award-winning film that we had done, and it was very small. It was called Dandelion Dharma, and it's a quirky comedy, and we call it a dramedy, but it won several awards, and we were kind of doing a tour with the film, a promotional tour with the film, and I wasn't getting one call from Hollywood, and that's when I was like, what's going on here? Why is it radio silence? It should be. I was getting press, we were getting media, we were getting interviewed, and yet there was no call about what's your next project, we'd like to meet with you, we'd like to work with you. That wasn't happening. And that's really when I realized what had happened to me. But this was 2009, so this was before we even talked about kids being canceled. So I like to say that I was canceled before it was fashionable.
Now it's a thing, and that is so unfortunate. And so, but you had to rise from that actually somehow. How did that
So
happen?
in 2015, we decided, let's just get out of LA. This is ridiculous.
And then I have more questions. We don't have enough time, and y'all gonna have to come back to finish this. But how were you infiltrated?
No, that never happened.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's just the word.
Eventually, it just, people started leaving LA and it just sort of dissipated.
Okay, now go back to your story.
All right.
Tyra.
So we decided to leave, and we moved to the South, where you can actually have conversations with people you disagree with without getting shot or canceled. And
sometimes it feels like the same thing.
Doesn't it?
It hurts.
So then we weren't thinking we were going to do any more film work, but we decided to offer our assistance to nonprofits that we were passionate about, like Right to Life, organizations, and so on like that. And we came across this story, which just blew our minds. This is the true life story of Regina Block. And Veronica will tell you, this is like the 90-second, here's what the story is about. So we're making a movie.
Yeah. So we came across this when we were working with Chattanooga Right to Life. We were covering their March for Life, and when the keynote speaker was a woman by the name of Virginia, and her story, like he said, we thought, this is a movie. This has got to be a movie, because this is the true life story of long-term after effects of abortion, which we haven't seen that story. So the story is she got an abortion back in the 90s, and she was told it's like getting a wart removed, it's no big deal. She was engaged at the time, going to get married, but she wasn't ready. They weren't ready to have children, so she had an abortion. When she was on the procedure table, and her journey again had been away from Christ. She had been actually attending an evangelical church when she was young. She was on the procedure table. She heard a voice say, "Get up, get up." She did not get up. She went through the procedure, immediately began to suffer from anxiety and depression, which derailed her law school. She had to drop out of law school. And she was like an A student, but she failed law school. It derailed her marriage. Her marriage fell apart. And it drove her for a period of 9 years to the brink of suicide. What saved her was a revelation from her 4-year-old daughter who had no idea her mother had ever had an abortion. This little girl revealed to her that she was having a series of recurring dreams about meeting her mother in heaven. And what these dreams revealed completely turned Regina's life. From that moment on, the suicidal ideation left her. She got counseling, or some more counseling finally. She volunteered at a pregnancy resource center where she started helping other women. And she is now the director of the National Memorial for the Unborn, which is a memorial in Chattanooga, Tennessee, built on the site of a former abortion clinic where people can come and pay tribute to their children. So this is a story that we thought, this is a movie right here.
It is, and not just is it a movie, it's a reoccurring story in the lives of American women or women all over the world, so I have some of that story, and I know that I tried to hide a pregnancy at 17, being afraid I would be kicked out of my private Christian school. I would have been, and just not wanting anyone to find out. Just a sorry boyfriend, and so in that set up a chain of events that it would affect me for some time afterwards. And so this is something that's going to be pretty healing to a lot of women and some men that forced abortions or and things like that. I really so tell us where we at with the film.
So we crowdfunded enough money to shoot 12 scenes from the movie, and with a shoestring budget and skeleton crew, we shot these scenes and edited them into let's say a tease or a concept video, we submitted it to Angel Studios. Are you familiar with Angel
Yes,
Studios?
I am.
Oh, yeah. So,
originally chosen.
yes. So they have a method for deciding what they're going to distribute. Unlike a Hollywood studio where you have a group of executives in a room, they ask their audience, their subscribers, do you want to see this made into a movie? And you get a score, and after a couple weeks of voting, they know what your score is going to be. We got a 93 out of 100. It's like the third or fourth highest of all time. And you just have to get over 85 to qualify for theatrical. So we have a distribution deal with Angel. It's contingent on the final film passing the guild, but anyway, so we have their backing, and we also have the backing of the state of Kentucky. They have these tax incentives, so we're raising money for the final part of it right now.
Congratulations, this is going to be amazing. I'm hoping we can connect soon. And I would like to some guidance on the project I'm working on about you and what y'all are doing. It's amazing.
Can I tell people how to get in touch?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. So the website that we're using is henamedhimadam.com. That's the name of the movie, He Named Him Adam. And there you can find the trailer, and you can find a lot of information about us. We've been interviewed so many times on great shows like this one. And we also are raising money, still raising money. People can donate money to this, or if you happen to be a high net worth individual, you can invest in the movie and participate in the revenue stream from it. And if anybody's interested in that, just click on the Contact Us. But take a look at the trailer. I think you'll find that it's quite a powerful story, and you'll see why the Angel Guild fell in love so much with this movie.
Watching God Family Politics, and we'll see you in the next segment. Bye. Hello, welcome back to God Family Politics. I'm your host, Dr. Tyra Hodge. Today in the house, we have writers, producers, and actually a new distribution company for those of you that are in film. I have Carrie Solomon and Chuck. I do not want to miss a performance.
Councilman. You didn't have a whole bunch of people on your block growing up that had that same last name?
Well, we didn't like councilmen's, but not exactly a councilman. So, Carrie, I know that you've created lots of content throughout the years writing, but y'all are doing a new thing now. Chuck, I'm new to you, but I know that y'all have joined forces to do something that the industry really needs. Would you like to talk about what you're doing in the company?
Sure, we're looking to do honest distribution, which is it's not a contradiction in terms. It probably prior would have been. Everybody knows that Hollywood accounting is not necessarily the most honest. Hollywood accounting is actually distribution accounting. So our company motto is, we couldn't find an honest distributor, so we created one.
Wow.
So we're looking to serve, in this season, not just as content creators are sort of midwives for other people's projects to bring them to the market.
So what was the breaking point that y'all had to where you said, okay, somebody needs to step in and do something?
Well, it's very tough for Christian filmmakers have been very good about seizing the means of production to make movies, but the means of distribution they forgot to pick up on. So we're looking to help there. We saw the need there, so we're looking to help.
This has been a problem from the beginning of It's just too much money, and when you're a filmmaker, we write, we produce, we direct, so we do all of this. When you finally finish a movie, you go out and it makes $2, $3, $5, $10, $15 million, and then that's taken away from you. Your career literally gets destroyed there because everyone you took that money from to make the movie, even though you're not guilty, investors don't like losing money. You're not going to be able to go back to your dentist and say, give me $50,000. That kind of thing. And so it's a horrible thing. We felt that the Lord called us to do this in a profoundly new way, and also to get around the studios who are putting out nothing but filth and perversion.
My gosh. And just being a mom, not being able to turn on the TV, like I'm trying to gather my children and try to have this moment with them so we can say that we watched it and we talk about it, and then the next thing you know, something explicit happens and you're not expecting it. So my husband's always back there, what are you watching? I was like, I didn't do it. And so is that the type of content y'all are creating or allow into distribution?
Yeah, we want most of it to be very safe for families overall. And a lot of what happens too, you probably run across this, because sometimes you're watching content that's okay and then advertisements come on that are inappropriate.
Exactly.
And so everybody's got to watch, even if they preview the material, they're watching it with the remote in hand and they're like, got to get that off there before. So we don't want parents and families to have to watch.
So tell us how you help. Tell us what do we do to get our content to you?
Well, first, in most cases, folks have to make a good movie.
Or TV show, or kids cartoon, or an animation, or documentary, or reality show. Right? So, but it has to be good. It has to be quality. It's not something you just go out in your backyard and make something that's going to appear on TV. We have a company another company which is called Believe in Us, which is going to be a streaming platform that should be done in about 6 months. And we're going to bring all kinds of morally good content there. Unlike other people, they kind of get lost in the weeds a little bit. This is good. This is going to be very, very powerful. It's going to be a place where children can be children. Adults can watch what they want to watch to a limit. We're not going perverse. We're not doing progressive things. It's going to be a quality thing.
I'm so glad somebody's fighting back for their families and for the wholesomeness, because the perversion has gotten out of control.
It's unbelievable.
And it's reshaping the way our children act, the way we have to parent, and some of it we don't even know that is affecting the families. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Carrie also, he was the screenwriter, and I don't know if you had co-screenwriter for Unplanned, and we're going to be talking to Abby Johnson next, and I think that's when I saw him and he became this story, and I know you've done wonderful things, but that story connected with me, and so hopefully you're going to connect with us, for those of you that have suffered through traumas of abortion and decisions and are out there fighting the battles. We saw them all come down on pro-life, and I know Carrie's been very, very pro-life and just an advocate. So I do want to credit him to that. And so is there anything you want to say?
Yeah, it was Chuck, and we've been in business for 40, 50 years. So we wrote it.
You're the quiet one.
We wrote it, we produced it, we directed it. It was an amazing thing, but I got to give credit to God. That movie doesn't get made without me. I mean, the devil was all over us attacking. He did not want to lose abortion. And, that movie, in part, was responsible for Roe v. Wade. getting flipped over. So that's pretty impressive. That's what the Lord does is unbelievable.
And single-handedly, the words we've been told multiple times, it's the reason why there's no abortion in Jamaica. It was going to be voted on by Parliament there. Between the theatrical release and the home video release, one of our co-producers, who had done 5 years worth of Mexico and Caribbean, I said, can I download it on my laptop with the trust me? He said, yeah. He personally filmed every single Parliament there and watched it with that member Parliament and his spouse. And very quietly, abortion was taken off the table. Our voter has never come back to be voted on. That would have been 10 children a day, every day on average for the last 5 years that have been lost in Jamaica. So it's very rare you get to quantify what it is, but the way I look at it is that movie has saved a child every 2.5 hours.
And this is the thing, this is the stuff that people don't hear that you need to know. It's life-changing. Life-changing. Thank you so much for being on the show, both of you, for taking your time out. And y'all check it out. And if you're one of my content creator friends and family out there, now we know where to distribute our stuff. But also anything that's coming out from, I believe Believe Entertainment, and also SDG. Tyra said something, y'all. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share. See, this is for Teens by Teens. And tell your friends about the show. Bye.
And I stood in the store, and she's like,
hello, welcome back to God Family. Oh my gosh, I forgot the name of my own show. God Family Politics, y'all. Right now, I'm like kind of a little shy because I got Scott from Pinnacle Peak Media. Pinnacle Peak.
It's like picked up pepper. It's the 3 P's, Pinnacle Peak Pictures.
Okay, and so, but the coolest part was, but Pinnacle Peak is still very, very, very cool. But the coolest part is that he's the creator of PureFlix, y'all. This is so cool.
Yes.
Tell me, what's going on?
It's been a long journey. I started PureFlix back in 2005 to make movies, right? And made a lot of movies, clean movies, faith movies, things that ultimately would inspire people, draw them closer to them. And that's been a journey. And then in 2016, in addition to making movies and distributing them, we started the streaming platform, which a lot of people know, PureFlix, which is still going on today. And did tons of movies for that. And I did end up selling the company to Sony. Bill Abbott runs that. Bill Abbott's a great friend of mine too.
Was that hard?
It was hard, but Sony was a great partner. They poured resources and money into it for us to be able to do more productions. Then ultimately glorified God. I know a lot of people are like, wow, that's Hollywood doing that. But they did that, and that has been really good. And but after I left PureFlix, we changed the name because we sold the streaming company, and we kept our studio and distribution company. We launched Pictures as a new name. And I'm so excited. We've done more God's Unchained movies, which one came out last year. And this Easter, on March 14th, we have a brand new biblical coming out last summer.
Oh my gosh, I think that's so
You probably see Chris Tomlins in it. Chris Tomlins, he has music in it. He's one of the executive producers.
By saying that I was going to get to interview him. But I think
maybe we'll have to see what I can do for you.
Perks.
Yeah, exactly.
So okay, so this movie with Chris, I mean, how did y'all even come up with that?
You know, I about a year, maybe a year and a half ago, I remember getting a script from this director and a producer friend that I knew, and he said, you should look at this. And I was like, well, that's super interesting, but can you just tell a story in the Last Supper? But when I read the script, I was like, wow, this is a page turner. Like, the Last Supper was brought to life, not only with what it represented, and there's a lot of things I didn't even know that I learned through the movie, and then to see these characters interact, Peter, Judas, Jesus, and how that dynamic was taking place. Ultimately one that's restored by God and one that falls by the wayside, Judas, right? And to see that dynamic come to life was really incredible, and I think the movie just really shows that. And then to top it off, Chris Tomlin came on board. We got a song from him in it, and it's just a wonderful song, brand new song that people are going to go see. So I think people will love it. Take your family March 14th to the theater. You're going to love it.
March 14th, y'all. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Get your tickets now.
Yes. And you know what? Thank you so much. And hopefully this is just going to be a segment of a bigger interview. And so, y'all, March
14th.
14th
coming up, just a few weeks away. Get your tickets now. They're on sale. They're going quick in a lot of places. So, it's going to be in theaters nationwide. And I think if you're an individual, bring your friend, bring your neighbor. One of the things that this story brought to life, it's so cinematic in the way it's shot, and the characters and everything. You got to experience it in the theater. It's a powerful way to bring your neighbor, your friend, say, let's go check out this movie. I promise you'll learn something. They'll be touched. They'll be drawn into the message of Christ and what it represents. And I think families will just absolutely love it.
This is going to be amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Y'all, make sure you take somebody to go see the movie, and then if it hits streaming, make sure you invite people to watch it and have parties around this. This is an amazing way to minister without saying, I'm trying to minister to you. So this is going to be good. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, and I appreciate it. You interviewing us here at NRB. It's an incredible conference, and you're doing a wonderful job. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm working it out. We'll see you next time on God Family Politics. I'm your host, Dr. Tyra Hodge. Thank you.
Perfect.
Do you have 1 minute and 6 seconds?
I do.
Good. Thank you.
Got 10 minutes.
I got lucky then. This is a script. This is my story.
Okay.
Or there's a script, but there's not a movie. This is just a sizzle that I made for it. Let him know. The hot coffee that I don't.
Oh no, I'm fine. I need to eat something. I need to do all the things.
Hello, welcome back to God Family Politics. I'm your host, Dr. Tyra Hodge. Today I'm so excited. And so a lot of my followers, a lot of you are educators and just church members and people from around the world. But a lot of you don't know my pro-life story and Abby Johnson, and I wanted to introduce y'all to her today. Abby Johnson's story is amazing, and it shook America. Not only did it shake America, it shook Planned Parenthood, but ultimately what she did possibly helped overturn Roe versus Wade. Abby, thank you so much for being here. Could you please tell us your story?
Well, it's, I it's really God's story. I went to work for Planned Parenthood in 2001. I was a college kid. I didn't. I grew up in an amazing home. I have great parents, Christians. I grew up Christian. But we were not a family who talked about hard things. I'm an only child, and so I didn't grow up with brothers and sisters telling me. I imagine. I see in movies and I hear my friends who have siblings that would, they'd say, my brother told me about this and that, and that's how I found out about, whatever. I didn't have that,
as a parent, that's scary when you're being told
Yeah, and so I didn't have that, right? I just had my parents. And so I went to a very small private school in the church, every Sunday, every Wednesday, youth group, Bible studies, youth camp, all that, And so I think it was just a very insular, very sheltered sort of life I lived. It was beautiful. I mean, it's really exactly what you want for your child, But then I set out for college, and I went to the largest university in the country.
UCLA?
No, Texas A&M University.
Aggies?
Yes, that's right, Aggie. And that was overwhelming, right? It was very overwhelming, and I was very unprepared for what I encountered, I mean, I found my group, I was going to, church, I was doing the things, but over time, I started kind of walking away from my faith. I started, dabbling in sin and going to the clubs and drinking, and I mean, sin is fun.
It is for a while.
If it wasn't fun, we wouldn't be tempted to do it.
It is until it kills you.
Yes. And so I was like, oh, this is fun. I'm like, I've been going to
shelter.
church,
Right? You were sheltered.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, something happened to me.
So I was like, this is fun. Why the heck am I worried about getting up and going to church? Like, I want to go to the bars, So that led me to have my first abortion. That led me to having my first, physical relationship with a man. That was all new to me. I got pregnant. He was 8 years older than me. I got pregnant, and
was it a teacher?
No. It was actually my neighbor. And I remember sitting on my couch with a positive pregnancy test. I'd taken a bunch of them, because you never believe the first one is real, And he came over, and I'm sitting there with all these pregnancy tests, and he looked at them, and he sat down beside me, and he said, don't worry, I know what to do, I know where to go, I've taken over the world. And I mean, you would think that would be like, red flag,
We have to learn a couple of times sometimes.
But I was like, okay, like, he's gonna fix this.
He's an older guy, so he knows what to do.
Yeah, like, he knows more than I do. He's older than me. He's gonna fix this for me. And honestly, I could not even imagine telling my parents. I could not imagine. My dad was a deacon. I needed my parents to believe that I was still absent. I needed my parents to believe that I was the girl that they wanted, that I was the daughter that they wanted. And I was so ashamed. And I thought, okay, well, that's fine. You know, we'll go to the clinic. I didn't even really know what abortion was. I didn't grow up knowing about abortion. You know, we never sat around the dinner table and had a discussion about abortion. I just knew my family was pro-life. I just knew we were against abortion. But I didn't know what it was. I grew up in a small town. We didn't have an abortion clinic around us. We didn't go to the March for Life. We didn't go to rallies, like nothing, you know. And so I don't even think I realized, like, there was a baby. I mean, there was just no connection in my head. I was just like, there's a problem here.
Right.
And I need to fix it. I need to get rid of it.
Right.
I was very sick. I had very bad, like, sickness all day. And I just remember him saying, once you do this, you're going to sin. And I was like, oh, I cannot wait until and there was just no, I don't know, I can't even explain it. There was just no connection for me to this child in my womb. I didn't think about what the abortion was going to be like. I do not know how far along I was. I know I had to be pretty far along because this was before the internet. So he wasn't going to pay for it. He didn't have the money to pay for it. So I had to apply for my very first credit card.
Wow.
And now this was snail mail time. So I had to fill out an application, mail it in, and then wait for the card to come. So I mean, that took several weeks. So
meanwhile,
this baby is growing, and I'm sick, and I don't know how far I mean, I might have been in the second trimester. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I remember going into the clinic. He dropped me off. I went in by myself. We drove to Houston. We were living in College Station. Drove to Houston. There was nobody outside. You know, nobody out there. No pro-lifers, like, offering help or nothing. You know, I was very alone. And I just remember walking in alone. I remember going to a with a woman, and it was like a group, a bunch of women in there with me. And I remember she showed us a video of kind of what was going to happen during the abortion. And I guess after we were, you know, after the video was over, we all looked a little bewildered or something, you know, a little nervous. And she looked at us and she kind of laughed. And she said, "Don't worry, I've had 9 abortions. You'll be fine." And that did make me feel better. Because I thought, oh, I'm only going to do this once. And if she's done it 9 times and she's okay, then I'm going to just do it one time. So that did give me comfort, you know, which I know is exactly why she said it, right? It's that kind of like manipulation, you know? So I don't remember much else. I remember being in the room. I don't remember the waiting or anything like that. I do remember being in the room on the bed. I remember it being excruciating pain.
Yes. And what's different between, the only difference between yours and mine is that the nurse was cold. She didn't like me, and then afterwards I found out they didn't even give me the pain medicine. She said it afterwards because I didn't have anybody to drive me. She's like, I didn't give her the medicine. You know, she was just kind of cold about it. And so afterwards, how did that affect your life, you know, you moving forward?
Well, after, I remember waking up in the recovery room. They got me dressed right in front of everybody. my boyfriend was not there yet, and to pick me up, and I asked them, can I sit in the waiting room until he comes? And they said, no, you have to wait outside. So I sat on the curb, waited for him to come. He finally picked me up, and we drove home in silence. Like, no words were exchanged. It was like it was done, whatever. But I remember feeling relieved. I do remember feeling relieved. I did not feel any sadness. Because I thought, okay, like, and I didn't feel sick anymore.
You know, okay, so I'm going to pause, Abby, for a second, because what I forgot to tell you, that this movie, Unplanned, went out, and it hit the media by storm, and it was based on her story. But first, she wrote the book Unplanned, and I messed up. And so what she's telling you is like some things when you see her, you don't get to hear all this. And so you're hearing it right here, some of the inside details of what's going on in her book and her story. And so Abby, I wanted the audience to know exactly who we were talking to, who we were dealing with, and the presence, you know, before the presence that she has now in the media circles as far as pro-life.
Yeah, I think it's important for people to understand that, like, I think a lot of pro-lifers are like, well, you know, if a woman has an abortion, she's going to be upset, or she's going to be devastated, or she's going to be sad. And I'm going to tell you something. I lived for years and years and years not sad about my abortion. I felt very relieved. I felt almost thankful that I'd had those abortions. And that is very normal. Okay. That is very normal for a lot of women. I went on to work at Planned Parenthood because I had that first abortion.
Wow. And because it was a positive, in hindsight, it was a positive experience.
I had made it a positive experience for me, right? The only negative thing I had attached to it was my boyfriend.
Yeah, that he sucked.
He sucked, but the abortion was fine. Now I look back and see how dehumanized I was during that experience. But at the time,
it put you out on the curb.
Exactly. But I wasn't thinking about it. I was just thinking about my boyfriend, terrible people, right? But I was not thinking about the abortion. I was not thinking about how much pain. I actually felt them tearing the baby out of my body. But I wasn't thinking about that, right? I wasn't thinking about any negative associations with the abortion. So when I went to work for Planned Parenthood, I was like, well, an abortion helped me. So now I can go help other women. Wow. Right? If I would have never had that first abortion, I would have never gone to work at Planned Parenthood. That first abortion changed the trajectory of my life. Okay? Working at Planned Parenthood then I got pregnant again. And when I got pregnant again, I started working at the clinic.
Because you get a discount, family discount.
Yeah, you do. So, I mean, you practically get it for free. And everybody I knew that worked there, they were always getting pregnant. They just got an abortion. I mean, abortion is birth control at Planned Parenthood. So they were like, oh, don't worry about it. Just get an abortion. That time, I had a pill abortion. I had the pill abortion. So now that's when you take pills. The baby comes out of you, and then you flush your baby out the toilet. That was a very traumatic experience for me.
Really?
Very
traumatic. Like night and day?
Yes, because I actually held my baby for years.
Wow.
And I thought I was going to die. And I don't mean that like...
Yeah.
I thought I was going to die. I remember laying on the floor. I passed out because I lost so much blood. And I remember thinking right before I fainted, I thought, this is how my parents were. Knowing that I died because I killed angels. That was what I thought. But I didn't die, and even when I got up, there was some part of me that thought, I guess this is what I deserve. I mean, so where did I expect this to be
is
easy?
different from the first part. This is different from the first time because at the first time, really, you were just, taking care of business, getting your life back on track. But this time, you said it was a baby.
Because I saw it. And I made the conscious step. I'm holding it in my hand, and I'm like, what do I do? I mean, bury it? Do I do? And I was like, just dump it in the garbage. I don't want to think about it. But and so then I had to steel myself. And so you have to convince yourself, what I did was right. That was my thinking.
For you and the baby.
For me and the baby. Because I wasn't in the right mind. I wasn't in the right place. So this was the best thing for me and the baby, right? And so I went back to the clinic saying, okay, I don't think chemical abortion is the right thing for me. I think surgical abortion is the right thing for me. So that was
rationalization.
That was the rationalization. That was the justification. That was the mental gymnastics that I had to play in my head. So then it became a joke at the clinic. They were like, "Oh, don't give Abby any of the medical abortion patients. Don't give her any of the pill abortion patients. She'll turn them into surgical abortion patients." And they don't want that because surgical abortion patients, well, you have to use a doctor. Okay. And that takes longer, and it's extra money. They don't make as much money off the surgical abortions. So it was like a joke, but they were serious. Like, don't give Abby any of the medication abortion clients because she'll turn them into surgical. And because I really thought medication abortion is terrible for women. They should not have to deal with that. They should not have to flush their baby down the toilet. It's awful. I've done it. It's terrible. Don't do it.
And so I see in this process, God is working on Abby,
yes,
but not in a way that anybody would ever think.
And not in a way that I even said.
Right.
I didn't even say it. Right? And so time goes by.
You're moving up in the ranks, right?
I'm moving up in the ranks. Now I'm the director. I've got the Planned Parenthood of the Year award.
And the youngest director.
The youngest director. I'm like rubbing elbows with like Hillary Clinton, America Ferrera, all these actors, actresses, political people. I'm working with Warren Buffett's group. I mean, I'm up there, guys. And little by little, I start to see things. The higher I get, I start to see things where I look at it and I'm like, is it that the industry is changing? Or is it that now I'm just so high up in the ranks? I'm finally seeing what we've been about.
The politics. The same thing happens in public education. I work in public education and we've been throughout the years closer to the politics.
And so now all of a sudden, we're pushing abortion quotas. A certain number of abortions we have to sell in our clinics. And if you don't sell them, you've got to fire them. You've got to fire the people that aren't selling the most. And we're keeping a tally of how many of your educational, your abortion educators, how many they're selling. And the ones that aren't selling, they're fired. I mean, it's like we're selling cars, but we're selling human lives. And that is kind of freaking me out. I mean, to be honest,
yeah.
I'm kind of like, what? what's going on here? What's going on? What are we doing? But I mean, at that time, I'm kind of like a company man. I'm like, well, all right. I mean, you tell me to do it. You know, you tell me we got to sell abortions, and I'll sell abortion. I got really good at it. And then I did get really frustrated though at one point in time because they told me we had to double our abortion quota. Now we were going to double it. That was when things became really, I became different. I became very belligerent and angry. And I remember I actually got reprimanded for the first time ever in my 8 years of pregnancy. I got reprimanded for calling it out. And saying, what do you expect me to do? I mean, you want me to drive around like yelling out my car, you know?
Hey, baby, what kind of abortion?
Here's an abortion. What,
you know,
yeah, I mean, what? I didn't. I'm like, what do you want me to do? I don't understand what you want me to do. My supervisor was very callous, very cold. She loved abortion. I can't describe any other way.
Well, it can't be the point of demonic. And so if you've had an abortion, doesn't mean you're not evil. You just probably don't understand your options or your choices and stuff like that. So don't think we're saying that because you had an abortion you're evil, or even if you're working in a clinic right now you're evil. But Abby is telling you the process and the thought process of all these things. What we're telling you is there's a better way, and there's a better way, especially if you're a child of Christ.
Yeah. And this woman had worked there for 30 years. She was hard. I mean, she loved She used to play with the aborted babies. I mean, it was. And I got reprimanded by her because it was the first time ever that I had pushed back. And that was when they said, you're going to go into all and you're going to put flyers telling them that this is the place they can come for their abortions. All the low-income neighborhoods, all the black neighborhoods, all the HUD neighborhoods. You're going to start going into HUD neighborhoods. They generally have a once-a-month required community meeting. And you're going to be there. And you're going to tell us when they don't need any babies.
Okay, so some of my friends that sit on the opposite side of the aisle, that are dear friends, and some are Christian. Could you please, and I try not to be too heavy on my right and my conservative values, especially on my Christian friends that happen to be black as well, but that are still in the Democratic Party. And I know I'm surprising her with this question, but I know that she knows the answer. Can you please tell them about the founder of Planned Parenthood and what was her mission?
Yeah, so the founder of Planned Parenthood was a woman named Margaret Sanger. Margaret Sanger.
Look at the camera, please.
Okay. So the founder of Planned Parenthood is a woman named Margaret Sanger. Margaret Sanger was, first Planned Parenthood was called the American Birth Control. And she eventually changed the name to Planned Parenthood because she wanted to broaden our mission just from birth control. Margaret Sanger believed in eugenics, and she particularly believed in the practice of eugenics for the African American population. She went to KKK rallies, espousing her beliefs. She believed in the teachings of Adolf Hitler. She went, there's a very popular interview that she did with a journalist named Mike Wallace. You can go look it up. Where she talked about what she considered a sin. Sin. She believes that every child should be a wanted child. That used to be actually the motto of Planned Parenthood: every child a wanted child.
So eugenics, and I wanted you to hear it from her, is the eradication of the undesirables, and that was the black person. So when you align yourself with Planned Parenthood and their founding mission and their founding purpose, I don't want to come off angry because I love you. Anybody that's watching, I love you. I don't want to come off angry. But I left the Democratic Party when I found out about eugenics. And it was all about to eradicate the Negro, the undesirable.
And that's what she wrote about. So there's a lot of writings from Margaret Sanger that you can look up. I mean, they're directly from her. She wrote things like the most merciful thing a large family can do to one of its infant members is to kill it. That's a direct quote from Margaret Sanger. She wrote that Negroes are human weeds that need to be exterminated from the human garden. She said that Negroes are reckless breeders. She 100% founded Planned Parenthood for the purpose of exterminating the African American population.
So when I tell you, you don't believe me, I bet you'll believe her.
And I mean, I didn't believe it. When I worked at Planned Parenthood, I would hear these things from pro-lifers, and I didn't believe it. And I'll tell you why I didn't believe it.
Because we're America. We love everybody.
But not just that. Up until about 3 years ago, Planned Parenthood gave out their most distinguished award was named the Margaret Sanger Award. Okay? It can't be true that a woman who was a woman who believed in practicing eugenics, this organization, this billion-dollar organization, would not be giving out their most distinguished award in the name of a woman who was who believed in eugenics. Like, that's ridiculous. That can't be true, right? So when these people would tell me these things, I was like, you're lying. Yeah. You're lying.
Yeah.
Because we give awards in her name. Our largest clinic in New York is called the Margaret Sanger Center. It was on Margaret Sanger Drive. We wouldn't be named. The Girl Scouts have an entire section in their curriculum about heroes. And Margaret Sanger is listed as a hero in the Girl Scout curriculum. They're lying. Because you wouldn't herald a woman who believed in eugenics. So I dismissed it out of hand. I never looked it up. I never looked into it because I didn't want to know. Right?
Yeah, it's too much to handle.
It's like this.
You
right?
can't handle the truth.
You don't want to know. So I didn't look it up. And I also didn't believe it because I'm going to these dinners. And I'm looking at the women who are receiving the Margaret Sanger Award.
Don't tell me they're black. They better not have been black.
Yeah, I think some of them were black. But, I mean, Hillary Clinton is receiving the award. Nancy Pelosi is receiving the award.
Well, that I can.
Now, how? I mean, I worked on Hillary Clinton's campaign. How there's no way. These are people that are for the black community.
Supposedly.
How can people that are for the black
They're really
community?
for eradicating the black community or keeping you enslaved up here.
Yes, but at that time, I didn't know that. So I'm like, it's a lie. These are people that are for the black community. They would not be receiving an award, proudly receiving an award in the name of a woman who wants to eradicate the black community. That is a lie. When I left Planned Parenthood, that was one of the first things I looked into. And I read her words. And I read her book. In fact, in my office at Planned Parenthood, one of the gifts that I was given was a large print. I still have it today because I don't ever want to forget where I came from. I have a large print of Margaret Sanger with 13 women surrounding her. She was signing the deed to the first Planned Parenthood clinic. And I had it hanging in my office. I was so proud to be a woman who's following in this woman's heritage, right? And then I started looking up her words. I started reading her books, her letters. And I couldn't believe what I was reading. These were her words. And I just thought, oh my gosh, like, they were. This was true. Then, I start sitting, now after I've left Planned Parenthood, I start sitting on calls with NARAD, our country's largest abortion rights activist group. I start sitting on calls with National Abortion Federation. These were open calls, right, that anybody could join and sit on. And at one point in time, there was a call about how to deal with the claims that Margaret Sanger was a racist. Okay, this was coming up. It was coming up more and more often, right? And you know what they said? They said, Margaret Sanger was a little R racist. Little R racist. She was not a big R racist. I don't even know what that means.
I'm trying to process here. So you're little R racist or you big R racist?
She said because everybody was racist at the time. So she was just a little R racist, not a big R racist. And I thought, what does that mean, right? It was not until, and I think it happened about 3 years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, it was not until a large group of Planned Parenthood workers left the industry and sued Planned Parenthood for racial discrimination and named Margaret Sanger as being kind of the bedrock of these racist beliefs. I'll tell you what, 79% of Planned Parenthood's abortion facilities are placed in black neighborhoods.
Yes, and that was the whole ideology, the whole plan
right
of it.
I mean, 79%. That's not a coincidence.
No.
Okay, 79% of their clinics are placed in black neighborhoods for a reason. And so all these workers came out and they filed a lawsuit claiming racial discrimination inside the clinic and cited Margaret Sanger, as being kind of the bedrock, the foundation for these racial biases, biases in the clinic. It was then and only then that they said, maybe she was racist. And then they decided they were not going to give out the award in her name. It was then that they took down the Margaret Sanger Clinic and named it something else. It was then. The pro-life movement has been saying it for over 50 years, and they have been calling us liars.
Oh yeah, that's what they do. They call us liars, and they call us racist. And so I'm a racist too because I don't agree with you.
They have been gaslighting us for over 50 years, telling us that we were crazy, we were liars, that we were the racists. When in reality, it was their founder. It was their practices, and it is still their practices to this day that makes them racist. They have not, if they really wanted to help the black community, this is what they would do. Instead of aborting the black community, which we know that black Americans are targeted disproportionately by abortion, right? We know that. Instead of opening abortion clinics in those communities, they would be opening job help sites. They'd be opening community centers to help with job skills. They'd be opening centers to help rebuild families, restructure families, helping build up fatherhood programs to help the black community. That's what they'd be doing in those communities. Instead of looking at a black woman and saying, oh, you're pregnant. I'm sorry, the only thing that we can do is to kill your child. That's the only thing that they're doing for the black. They're not interested in helping the black. They're interested in eradicating the black. And so when they started telling me, you need to go into the black community to start selling abortion even harder to the black community, that was
going back to their founding.
Yes, and that was eye-opening to me. But that was just one more. That was just one more moment. The Holy Spirit was like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Okay, so I know I've been hogging your time, but this is so valuable. Abby, when was the moment that you said, no more?
I was called in to assist on an ultrasound-guided abortion procedure. Ultrasound guidance is not typically used during an abortion procedure. Abortions are usually done blindly. You use an ultrasound to determine how far along the woman is in pregnancy, and then the ultrasound is rolled away and not used again. They need to know how far along you are so that they know how much to charge you for the abortion. Then it's not used again. This time we had a visiting physician. He wanted to use the ultrasound as a learning opportunity for us. He wanted to actually see, he wanted us to see what was happening to the baby during the abortion.
That was God. That was God.
That was God. I was asked specifically to come in and assist. I did not know this doctor. He did not know me. He asked me by name to come in.
Wow.
And assist. I went in. I was in charge of holding the ultrasound probe on the abdomen. The baby was 13 weeks along. Everything's fully formed on a baby by 13 weeks. Every organ that we sit here with today is fully formed on a baby by 13 weeks. Heart's beating, fingers, toes, everything's there. And I sat there watching, I felt like I was feeling apprehensive, like I felt like I was feeling nervous. I realized now it was conviction from the Holy Spirit. And I watched as the suction tube went into the woman's uterus. And when it touched his side, the baby jumped. And he began to flail his arms and legs as if he was trying to move away from the abortion instrument. And the doctor turned on the suction instrument, and I watched as this baby was torn apart in his mother's womb. And I knew at that moment that I had not witnessed choice. I had not witnessed justice of any kind, reproductive justice, as they called it. It was not healthcare. Healthcare is to heal, not destroy, not to kill. I knew that I had witnessed intentional and deliberate kills. And that woman on that table had no idea. She had not seen it happen. She had not been given the opportunity to see her child on an ultrasound. And I just thought there was life, there was humanity in that woman's child. And was true. They had to believe it was true. I knew I was on the wrong side. And so I ended up leaving, and my parents sued me when I left. They tried to get a temporary gag order, or they tried to get a permanent gag order against me, so I would not be able to tell all the things I knew. I knew a lot, and they didn't want me to be able to tell people what I knew, and that obviously failed. You can't sue somebody for leaving their job. You can't sue somebody for having a change of heart.
But that's the slavery of that side, the slavery mentality of that side, y'all. It is what it is.
Yeah.
It is. And so we're going to sue you to try to destroy your life, to take everything from you if you dare try to come up against us.
Yes.
And if
really,
you speak the truth.
They were trying to use me as an example for every other person that works there. If you come against us, you're going to be in a courtroom against all of our high-powered attorneys from New York and Washington, D.C. I'll tell you what they did. This is in the book, not the book. But in the court case, I'm sitting there with my local attorney who volunteered to do this for me for free because I had no money. I quit my job, right? Who was amazing, by the way. Here come this line of attorneys. I'm talking about at least 6 attorneys from D.C. and New York. A line of them come in. They had a dog full of bankers' boxes. Wow. And I'm like, what?
It's like, make that much money to.
I'm like, what? I'm like, I look at my attorney and I'm like,
oh my God.
I'm like, what's in the boxes? And he goes, probably their purses. And he goes,
wow.
This is an intimidation. He goes, this is what they do to intimidate you. And he goes, you've done nothing wrong. Remember that. And God is on your side. And I'm like, you're right. I've done nothing wrong. I simply left my job. That's all I did. I was such a good employee for them. They gave me their Employee of the Year award. I have done nothing wrong. And here they come in with all this pomp and all these attorneys. 45 minutes. 45 minutes of them presenting their case of how dangerous I was to them. Wow. And the judge, my attorney stood up, asked for a directed verdict. And the judge was like, you're done. All this money they spent trying to silence me. 45 minutes, we're done. We went to lunch.
Wow.
And I've never heard from them again. They were so embarrassed. They were so embarrassed. And any time over the past 15 years, anytime I've been like, Planned Parenthood has abortion quotas for, in their clinics. And they're like, no, we don't. They respond. They're like, no, we don't. Abby is a liar. Blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, okay. And then I drop evidence that shows they have abortion quotas. And they're like,
we're just finding just a little right.
They're like, well, okay, we do have quotas, but it's because we believe in abortion access and blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, and then I'll say something else. I'm like, well, Planned Parenthood does this. And they're like, no, we don't. And then I drop evidence. And they're like, well, okay, well, we do a little bit of that. But so now, if I make a claim, they don't say anything.
Good.
Because they're like, we know this girl, if she's going to make a claim, she's got evidence to back it up. And the way that I have evidence to back it up is because I didn't just leave my job and start making a bunch of claims. I left my job and I started reaching in to the clinic to find other people like me who wanted to leave. People who knew in their hearts what I'm doing is wrong. I came in here wanting to help people, but I realized I'm destroying women and I'm destroying babies. And I've got to get out of here. Most of these women are single mothers but they feel like they have nowhere else to go, and they feel trapped. And so I'm like, there's a way out. We're going to help you. And so I started a ministry called The Minute We're None. We do an in-reach. It's not an outreach. It's an in-reach into almost the 800 abortion clinics around our country. We reach in and we say, here's a lifeline. Just grab it. We're going to pull you out. We pull them out one by one. We have helped almost 750 abortion clinic workers, doctors, nurses, medical assistants, people high up at the affiliate level. We help them leave, and we help them get into a saving relationship with Jesus Christ. These are people that were on a road to hell, and now they will spend eternity with us. That is redeeming. And because of that, because of the things that they know that's going on, the illegal things, the abominable things that are taking place in these clinics,
They're selling the baby body parts.
selling baby, all of this stuff that they know, we've then been able to turn around and shut down 40 abortions.
Wow.
So, God, I tell you this all the time. No matter your past, no matter what you've done, I've had 2 abortions. I've helped to facilitate 22,000 abortions. No matter what you have done, God uses everything. He wastes nothing.
Look at the camera, and I want.
There is a place for you to help end abortion. It doesn't have to be a national ministry, right? That may not be your calling. That is my calling, to have a national ministry. God is probably not calling you to do that, to be perfectly honest. There are people in your family that need to hear this message. There are people in your church community. There's people in your book club. There are people in your neighbors that need to hear that life is precious. There are people you know that have had an abortion that need to hear about the redemptive love and the redemptive grace of Jesus Christ. That is your job. It may not be your job, like us, to stand up on a stage and tell your story and to share about your sin. But it is your job to share one-on-one with the people that are around you every single day. That is your job, to share with them. God did not give us our stories. He did not redeem us from our shame, from our sin, for us to sit on it and stay silent. He wastes nothing. None of our prayers return void. And so use your story, use your past, use whatever it is that God has used to shape you into the person that you are, to go and be a light.
Thank you so much, Abby. This was even better than I thought it would be. I already knew it was going to be good, but this was so much better, so juicy. Thank you for spending time. And thank you all. And don't forget to like, share, watch this on 14 by teens. Tell people about it, and tell people about, what is the name of your organization?
And then there were none. The website is abortionworker.com. I also have a lot of resources at my website, abbyj.com. You can listen to my podcast. I've written a bunch of books. There's all my books there. I just came out with a children's book. So if you have a child and you want to start talking about the sanctity of human life, you need to start talking about that early with your children. Don't have that weird, awkward talk with them in 3rd grade and then never talk about it again. Talk about the beauty of life. Talk about pregnancy. Talk about life begins at conception. Talk about all those things at a very young age with your children, so that this will be a topic of conversation that you have with them for the rest of their lives. And you can, my book, What's Mommy's Tummy, that can be an open door for you. So you can get all that information on our website, abbyj.com. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much. say pretty much whatever you want.
And is it pretty, demographically young, old, city?
It's a mixture. It's a mixture. We're actually we're actually live. So we have a variety of viewerships. We have educators. We have pro-life people. We have Christians. It's our new population.
Okay.
Great. If you could come just a little bit, and I'll cut all this off of this stream once this downloads, and sit back a little bit. There you go.
Thank you guys. Thanks for helping set this up.
Hello, welcome back to God Family Politics. I'm your host, Dr. Tyra Hodge. Now we're going to be talking to an author. Introduce yourself to our...
Okay. Well, I feel a little bit like a poser when I say I'm an author because the way God has used me most over the last 40 years is just to be someone who stands at the door and welcomes people in. And so after pretty much 40 years of doing that, my husband and I moved to Atlanta. We have 4 adult children and we're all married, 12 grandchildren. And we decided this season in our life to be able to be near this. My son is actually a youth pastor, family pastor at a church, and these are years that we thought they could use their support and the other support. My daughter's a teacher and lots of that. But anyways, what we have done as a family is just taken in all sorts of people over the years. From Afghanistan, Kyrgyzstan, Japan, Korea, India, our Indian neighbors in our own neighborhood, just crossing all sorts of divides. And we've seen the difference it makes just to open our hearts and be hospitable. So as I began to have a little space, everyone said you should write a book on hospitality, not because I'm a good cook, because I am not because I'm a good decorator, because I am not because I don't stress over the table setting, and sometimes definitely the Martha, because sometimes I am the Martha, but because we have continued just to pursue that, and we have seen the grace of God come through, and the connections made, and the love of God that just softens the atmosphere around us when we have just been hospitable. So I wrote it down, thinking my grandkids will read it, no one else. But I found a hunger in this season that many of us as God's people have forgotten or become afraid of opening their doors. And it's not even the doors to our home. It starts with the 2 to 3 feet of personal space. We have forgotten that our mission as representatives of Christ is to every morning invite the Holy Spirit into us, and with His strength, with His love. Most of us as Christians have said, oh yes, I give you my life, I give you everything, and then, okay, that was the prayer this morning, now I go on my way. But we don't say, okay God, I'm going out my door. There's somebody who feels lonely and disconnected or in need. And I'm sorry, I've got my agenda.
Wow.
So it's not that there's not enough space at our table. It's enough that there's not enough space in our hearts to be seeing the people God wants us to reach out to. And then often we say, okay, I love you, God, I'm going to church, I'm doing that. We forget that there are so many out there that do not know Him. Do you know how many people have never been invited to the table of a Christian home? And we go, oh yeah.
It's probably because either we can't cook, I can't cook. Either we can't cook or we don't keep a good home. I mean, there's reasons why.
But those aren't godly reasons anymore.
Wow.
Those are fearful reasons. Those are Pinterest reasons. We have got to fight against that. Those are, vain imaginations that keep us from just loving people. So, the most hospitable person in all the Bible, Jesus. Didn't cook, as far as we know. Didn't have a home.
Okay,
as
so
far
when
as
he
we
came
know.
back after their death, he was broiling some fish.
He
they
was
said.
broiling the fish. Well, guys in the grill. Yeah, okay, they do that. Yeah. But he wasn't making the bread. You know, he But we can all do something. Yeah, and if it's ordering from Uber, order from Uber. I mean, today we don't have to cook, but we can look that Uber driver in the eye. We can ask them how their day was. We can have one more person that we're connected with. You know, the Bible is full of things saying, love your neighbor. And it's like, yeah, I love my Christian neighbors. Are we loving our Catholic neighbors, our Baptist neighbors, our Jewish neighbors, our Hindu neighbors?
You know, we're in a time right now in the United States where the church is more divided than ever. You know, we used to have like this social norm where we're polite and everything to each other, but because of politics and because of other things, we are definitely divided. And so the church is not supposed to be this church, that church, the black church, Asian church, the church, the church as a whole. We forgot that we are supposed to be a family.
That's right.
And we are each other's brothers and sisters, no matter what we look like or where we're from.
That's right.
And it's under his headship.
Yeah.
And so how do we get back to where we're supposed to be?
Starts every morning. Jesus, come into my life. You are welcome in my space. You are welcome in my space. And take me out into the spaces to connect with people. I mean, that 2 to 3 feet of us. Can we smile more? Can we listen more? Can we see his image? So if we want to be his sheep, we just assume we're all sheep. I said a prayer, I go to church. If you look at that list of sheep versus goats, was somebody hungry today? What did you feel? Was somebody thirsty, either for a drink of water or just life-giving water? Was somebody needing clothes? Covering of someone. Is it a physical covering? Is it somebody's shame that they just need to use? Was it a stranger that you invited in? 90% of being a sheep is hospitality. And the word hospitality, do you know where our Greek word when it says to practice hospitality? Well, when I started writing a book about hospitality, I thought I better look that up. Maybe I don't even know if I'm doing hospitality. The Greek word is philoxenia. Compound word. Xenia, we know about that, like xenophobia, fear of strangers. We know about Philadelphia, brotherly love. Philoxenia, loving strangers as family. It's not entertaining. Entertaining is beautiful. It's a great way to love people. But the kind of practicing hospitality without grumbling that the New Testament wants its people to do to bring that message, that kingdom message to the world, is genuine hospitality, philoxenia, loving strangers as family. And if you look at Scripture, it starts, I said, okay, I'm going to write this book, Lord, I'll tell some of my stories. He goes, well, why don't you start with my story? Oh, what's your story? Well, it starts in Genesis. I made this beautiful garden, and at the end, I had this great big party, everybody's invited. My story throughout it is a story of hospitality, redeeming the brokenness, inviting everyone in. Every book of the Bible has something about loving strangers, loving strangers, loving strangers. Loving strangers is family. So Adam and Eve, he puts in the garden, he's got this beautiful garden, he doesn't say, just sit there and let me do all the work. What does he do? He honors them by treating them like family. Come work with me. You know, we offer hospitality to impress. Were they impressed with all I did? Well, God does deserve all the glory for everything, but he gave them the opportunity to work the garden with him. Don't be afraid. You know, I don't have time to, feed the masses by myself. But how do guests feel the most intimately connected with you when you let them help? Help them, put them, give them a task, set the table for me. do the dishes. They will feel more connected to you than if you just do it all, because they'll go away going, I want to do that. But if you let them work, lesson 2 from Genesis on hospitality, it's okay to have boundaries.
Hey. Oh.
People love that. That's one of the things, like, really? Can I have boundaries? You can have boundaries. Let them be spirit-led boundaries.
Don't touch that tree.
Yeah. Don't touch that tree. And the boundaries were not because God's being mean. Boundaries are not because you're being mean. It's because you know what's best for you and you know what's best for them if you're God. So you have to listen to God about the boundaries. And lesson 3 from Genesis, they're going to invade your boundaries. Get ready. A lot of people say, I'm not having people over anymore. Last time, somebody spilled on my rug, or my white couch. Like, God doesn't care about your white couch. God cares if that person's going to be in heaven and know His love and forgiveness and grace. You're not bringing the white couch with you.
That's right.
Yeah. God said, yeah, you know what? I can't trust you in the garden anymore. But I'm not going to leave you out there in the desert alone. I'm going with you. I'm still going to be your God.
He made them clothes.
He covered their shame. He continued, gave them the tools they needed. He didn't want them to die. It's like He went with them. And the whole rest of the story is like, I just want you to look at me and let me be your God and let you know I have boundaries for a purpose, but I love you so much. The rest of it is just this love story because I want to be married. I want to have this wedding feast at the end where everybody can just enjoy the festival. It's His heart.
It's amazing. Okay, tell us about your book.
So the book is full of stories. Where, I had a bunch of crazy stories, both where I had been shown extraordinary hospitality. And I've been to places like the White House. I've been to places like the Commandant's private quarters in Washington. I've been to some extraordinary places where I felt like, really a wonderful VIP. But the places where the most extraordinary hospitality have been shown to me, one was on a park bench in France. I was an exchange student. I had run out of money, kind of crazy story, back in the days, without cell phones, without credit cards. All I had was a traveler's check. You're probably too old to remember traveler's checks. Yeah. Well, I was supposed to meet another friend in another city. I'd taken the train and then found out that the friend was not there. And I had absolutely no cash. Stupid, thinking I'm a smart college exchange student. It was just stupid. But I got there and I had no money. The train said they wouldn't buy my tickets for the next day. I'm sitting in this park going, Lord, what am I going to do? And I had just become a Christian a few months before that. I'm like, okay, God, I have nothing. And this very creepy guy started approaching me, and it was like, I am, a target. I have nowhere to go. What am I going to do? And I looked across the park, and there was this peasant woman, 4 times my age, just, your typical what you think of as a peasant woman in France sitting on a bench 50 years ago. And I thought, I'll go sit next to her and she'll be safe. And as I approached her, she began to stand up, and I was like, oh God, now where do I go? But she wasn't leaving. She turned to me, threw her arms around me. She sat me down on her bench. She had, I think, seen the creepy guy out of the corner of her eye. Just started talking to me. My French was so bad that she listened. And we talked, and she asked me where I was from and why I was there. And then she said, are you hungry? And I hadn't eaten since breakfast, and I had no money. And I said, I'll be fine. No. And she reaches into her bag and literally sliders one of those long French baguettes, breaks it in half, reaches over, gets another little bag, puts it in there, pulls out 2 bananas, gives me one of her 2 bananas, pulls out 4 slices of cheese, apologizes that she's diabetic and no salt, and wraps it up, gives me this lunch bag. This woman with nothing.
Right.
I mean, do you see this picture?
Yes,
This woman age differences, this woman with language differences, this woman with cultural differences shared with me because I was in here. And then she said, I've got to go. Disappeared. Now, to this day, it's like, well, that might have been an angel, but that angel affected my life. I can't tell you. And from, I ended up finding a hotel that said, oh, we will, be glad to take your traveler's check. And they said, and you don't have any cash, would you like to have dinner with our family? And I was like, well, actually, I have my bread and cheese, and I felt like I just wanted to spend that night with the Lord. And they said, well, come down in the morning and have breakfast with our family. And so I did that. It happened to be Pentecost Sunday.
Wow.
And I was looking for a church to go to, and I said, well, do you know where any of the evangelical churches are? And they said, well, we're Catholic, and the cathedral's right there, and that's what we go to. And I'm looking through this paper, looking for something, and God said, go to the cathedral. So I walked into the cathedral. I had been in France for several months at that point, and most of the churches were just very dead, with only very old people buried, bringing the children. And I walked into this on Pentecost Sunday, and there was this feast going on. There was music, people were singing, the sermon was on having quiet times, and it was like, there were families, and I was just so happy to see this alive, that there was this huge procession of priests kind of snaking around afterwards, and I felt the Spirit of God saying, just go thank them. So I caught the youngest little accolade at the end, he was, probably in his 20s, and I just said, I just want to thank you. This was such a wonderful experience. And he goes, well, who are you, and what are you doing here? And I explained a little bit about my crazy story, and he said, oh, you need to tell the bishop. So he brings me over to the bishop at the front of the line and said, tell him what you told me. And so I just, then what and the bishop looked at me and he said, do you have any place to go for lunch? Come to the rectory and have lunch with me and the rest of them. And I was like, okay. And he goes, so I had a couple hours in between going back for lunch, and I called another friend who ended up being back. She was not been there the day before, and she said, I would love to meet you. Well, her name was Janie, and she said, can you come over for lunch? And I said, well, actually, I'm sorry, I'm having lunch with the bishop. Toulouse. So I walked back to the this beautiful basilica, and go in the door that they told me, and it was me and 12 priests at lunch with this incredible meal, probably the best one I've had in months. And I'm thinking, this is my Jesus moment. It's like Jesus in the temple, and it wasn't. It was just a wonderful meal, and nobody really talked to me like, what is this girl doing at our table? And then they go, there was lunch late, and I'm just like, okay, Lord, whatever. And I went to meet with Janie, which it turns out that was my reason. Janie was a Christian. I didn't really know her in college, but she had been going through such a hard time and just not knowing what's happening. Well, I had stories for her. And I met up with Janie again, not a good friend. We didn't connect in college. I saw her 30 years later, and she'd become a physician, and she was doing mission work, and she said, you have no idea how that connection and that propelled her to create a relationship. So many times when we think we have nothing, and we think the story's all about us, it's about these people and connecting often through hospitality, through the breaking of bread, through just the smile on a white couch at NRB. God, who can I connect with to raise your story, to extend your kingdom to them?
I'm just, hey, we can end on that. So tell us, so tell us how we can get in touch with you and how we can see your content and everything.
Yeah. So my book is again about.
What's the name of it?
It's called Practicing Hospitality: The Joy and Grace of Loving Strangers, and it's on Amazon. It's at Barnes & Noble. And I have a website, anniebooks.com. That's in faith. I've only written one book. One book, one chapter author in another book. But I want to hear your stories, because I know these stories of loving strangers as family is what grows the church. And the church in America, it's been dying, but it doesn't have to. If we begin offering hospitality, we can reach those. After COVID, after people are lonely, not just old people, not just people, teenagers are lonely when we love strangers. I mean, teenagers are a strange group sometimes. You're about family. It means so much. I was just with a group of strangers in Honduras last week, teenagers that were just like, you want to talk to me? Yeah, I do. Whoever you are, whatever age you are, if you're a teenager, there's some other people that would love for you to make eye contact and talk to them.
Annie, that's such a good, great story. And so, y'all get her book and learn hospitality. She wants to hear your story.
I do.
Thank you so much for watching God, Family, Politics, and we'll see you next time. I'm your host, Dr. Tyra Hodge.
Thanks.
Gives me like a point to cut it.
Sure.